Hey, everybody. This is Scott with the Witness Underground documentary and the Witness Underground podcast. We are live on Kickstarter, but I wanted to bring on people from our greater team. We have a special week where we're bringing on people that are in the core team of the Kickstarter and the movie, but also people that are really supporting the film. And Anthos is one of those people, not just right now during the Kickstarter, but also going back to when we did a Seed and Spark campaign in 2018 in the winter, in January. No, it was March. So thank you, Anthos, for coming on. How you doing?
No problem. Good. How are you?
Good. It's been crazy, but it's going good.
And it's
I
been
would love.
20. It's been like 5 years already.
It's been 5.5 years, a little over 5.5 years. It's crazy, right?
Time is flying
Yeah.
way too fast.
So I would love to just for the origin of it. Like I was sort of doing research on what is happening in the former Jehovah's Witness world on the internet when I discovered your channel, the Brighter Light podcast. You said it's been a while since you made that, but I worked on that. But what was the inception for that project? Like, what got you going?
There was a friend, Chelsea, who's on like the first few episodes, who I was in a XJW group with her, and she was so funny to talk to. Like, I mean, I don't know if you've listened to those first episodes, but she's hilarious. And so, just inspired by conversations that we had, I just thought, man, this would make for some good conversation to record.
Yeah.
I think
Love when you meet someone like that, and then just like natural magic sort of happens.
Yeah.
Let's capture that thing that's special between us.
Yeah, there were like podcasts or a few podcasts. Everything was serious at the time. Most of it was serious.
Like in the XJW community, the space.
The XJW community, yeah. And so it was kind of like XJW's. I don't know, they were kind of like still witnesses. It sounded like they weren't, but
the way they communicated,
they hadn't completely gotten out yet. I don't think, or when you get to that final stage where you're like, you don't think about them anymore.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm ruining that for myself by making a movie about it and talking about it every single day. But there was a time where I was like, I don't care anymore. I don't want to think about it anymore.
Yeah. And so we just decided to do something different where we were just talking and loosely talking about the Jehovah's Witnesses and from a humorous place, like homies hanging out, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was refreshing stuff. I liked it. And you did, I think it was 18 episodes. Have you had a desire to do more of it, or did it just sort of become like how did that work out for you? Podcast.
You mean how did they keep going, or how did it stop?
Either way, like, are you thinking about doing more of that, or like where are you at? It's interesting because everyone has a different journey, right? Like I feel like the first year to 5 years, people are like, I want to do something, and they do something.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's this sort of like drop off in energy around the topic, and things don't change very fast. I mean, you can have a legal battle that goes for 3 years, and then they pay the fine, and they're like still doing the crime, and it's like, I worked so hard, or whatever whatever the activism is, or I don't know if there's any payoff.
I don't think about them enough to want to take any energy and like doing those, mainly because our audience was super, super small, and it came to a point to where it was like, okay, am I doing this for myself or?
All 14 people that love the show are
the 14 people, and
when you're looking at numbers, I feel like YouTube metrics are a little bit easier. It's like, okay, I got some views, and people might just leave it playing when they're not actually paying attention. So like the number goes up, or like your subscriber goes up after a while. But on my YouTube channel, and it's from all the podcasters I talk to, it's like, I got 8 downloads on that one episode. And it's not, some people don't download, but they listen to it without downloading it. So like it's not a perfect metric, but it's like the numbers aren't exactly gigantic unless you're some huge show, and it takes a long time to get there. And now, and every year you're competing with more and more shows, and it's like almost no one I've met. I went to a PodFest podcasting conference, 800 podcasters in one building, and everyone's like, yeah, I haven't quite figured out how to make money with it yet. I've spent about this much, but I made like $1 a month. It's like they're not making money. Everyone's losing money on it. And it's like, well, why am I doing this? There's a lot of reasons why not to do it. But
yeah,
maybe the personal is the best reason to. Like, you do it because you love it.
Right. I feel like it's gotten to a point, just how crazy everything is, that I assume, I don't know this, I don't have any proof, but I feel like a lot of people, although they still aren't witnesses anymore, they're like, they don't know for sure these days, because everything is so crazy. And because the XJW community has gotten way cold.
Yeah.
What it was like.
Yeah.
Remember in 2018, it was hopping.
Yeah, there was a lot of energy, a lot of discussions, a lot of drama.
A lot of drama. It was very active though, right?
Yeah.
Very.
One guy was telling me the other day that it went very atheist. And I generally identify with, I don't like have gods that I talk to anymore. There was a time when that was a normal part of my life, but he's like, the fact that I went super atheist, it's also became a little bit dogmatic, especially people that are like angry about religion are dogmatic. And then he thinks that there's this great divide between the Catholics or the Christians or the spiritual and the atheists, and that the atheists have taken over the Reddit and destroyed the thing. And I think it's an interesting discussion, and it's not necessarily important to like have a fight between people who have different ways of seeing the world. And there aren't just two. It's not just atheists versus believers. It's like, one of my favorite things on the internet was like, what do you believe now? No judgments, no attacks. And it was like 250 people commented what they believe now after leaving Jehovah's Witnesses. And it was wildly diverse. I was so impressed. It was like the coolest thing I'd seen on the internet in years. Yeah. I was like, whoa. Everyone was so like forgiving, and like, it was really interesting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's good to see how many all these people are finally being able to just shake it off and move on. And
yeah, that's the dream, right? Like, the dream isn't to stay in the ex-Jehovah's Witness community. The dream is to get out, get into that, heal, and then like get out, and then go have a life outside.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's nice when you realize that happened. Kind of like what you were saying earlier. The realization's like, wait a minute, I haven't, like, you see somebody tweet something, maybe. It's like, okay, you get the damn.
Yeah.
Just realize.
Not interested. I forgot about that word. I reuse those brain cells for something valuable. Cool.
Right. I suck with the Bible.
Like, what's that?
I suck with the Bible and everything. I don't even have. I suck. I can only recall one scripture.
Oh, okay. You suck at the Bible.
Which one do you think it is? The one scripture I can recall.
It's Psalms 83.
It's an easy one. It's very. Oh yeah, good. Okay, two.
Okay.
What do you think the other one is?
Matthew 24:14. I don't know why I remember these. That's like something about about preaching, I think.
Matthew 24:14.
Don't look it up. You don't need that part of your brain to remember that part.
No.
The synapses have moved in different directions.
Right. The other one I was thinking of was the 1 Corinthians 15:33, is it? Or 2 Corinthians? That association.
Oh, yeah. Right. You can actually quote it. Nice. You got 2 words anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
I know the rest, but again,
it's
like
yeah, it's nice. So what's last time we talked, what was really cool about meeting you is that when I was doing the crowdfunding thing, is that you were like, I'm coming to Minneapolis, right when we were shooting the movie, right after we'd shot the movie, Witness Underground, and we sat in a parking lot in your car and did an audio podcast.
Yeah,
and it was, you said, the last episode that you did.
Yeah,
and that was really cool because it was the first episode I'd done on the topic in person, and this was before the pandemic, so it was like we were already doing the remote thing.
Yeah.
But then you were living in North Hollywood. And now San Diego, is that right?
San Diego. Yep.
Yeah. How's it going? What's life like in San Diego
It's
post
great.
the Brighter Light podcast?
I I enjoy doing a whole bunch of nothing. I
Yeah.
work from home and do a whole bunch of nothing. Ride my e-bike on nice days, and life is great.
It's a gorgeous city. I spent a bunch of time. Well, I lived in LA the last 4 years, but I spent a bunch of time in San Diego, and we rode our bikes from LA to San Diego one weekend.
Really,
Yeah,
one
it took
weekend.
yeah, it's like 70 miles a day or something, or maybe
Oh,
it was like 35, 40 a day. I think it was 70 total. It was like 10, 12-hour biking days.
wow!
The
I'm gonna
part
be
that like
pissed with her from that.
the halfway ride from like the section just closer to San Diego, that half is awesome. Beautiful. There's a whole next to the highway, there's a whole separate bike path along the ocean with a view the whole way, and it's not super hilly. It's like if you ever do a ride going north, go halfway, get a hotel, come back the next day, would be like premium experience.
Nice.
No drama, no traffic.
You've been in LA for the last 4 years?
Yeah, I moved in the summer of 2019, and then we met 2018 in January or March, and then like online, and then later that spring, and then I moved like just over a year later. I moved to LA, and I got a startup job, and somehow we didn't hang out. But then the pandemic was like right. Then.
Yeah,
life was crazy right when I got to LA.
and I didn't fuck around at all when that happened. I was
just inside.
I didn't go any. Yeah.
I had a similar thing. I was busy too. So then it was like, I think when I told you on the podcast, you're like, when is this movie coming out? And I was like, oh, I think December 2018. Like, why would it be any more than that? I ended up hiring someone because I was like, I was emotionally exhausted, but also exhausted from like just what it would take to make this thing. It's like 14 hours of interviews or something, plus like this, I don't know, terabytes of content to work with, archive. And I ended up hiring a story editor, and she took it. So 2019 in the summer, I got the cut back from her. So a year after we talked, and I was like, yeah, it'll be done in 6 months. A year later, I got the rough cut, and we spent a year every week going back and forth, like trading editing until it was like middle 2020 when and it was almost like amazing that the pandemic happened, because I had all the time with no distractions to just work on it.
Yeah.
To get it nice. But
yeah, you did a good job, man.
Thank you. Yeah, you just watched it recently, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's any first takeaways? Or like
something
that stuck with you?
Outside of what I texted you about, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved it.
I tried to have to change some of the credits, right? You gave me a little tip. You're like,
yeah.
Gotta do that. I'm gonna do a credit adjustments. That's perfect.
Yeah, it is. But no, it was the storyline was good. I didn't know what to expect of it, but it was there was a storyline to it that I wasn't anticipating.
Okay.
And, it was very entertaining, funny at times. All of them are interesting people. Everybody in the band were interesting people, and the people who were able to still be around to do the interviews today.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because I mean, I feel like one of the struggles of this whole project is I was really pitching during the crowdfund to continue the interview series that I was doing, which wasn't so dissimilar from what you were doing. I was just doing it with cameras instead of podcasts. I was trying to do like a multi-camera professional documentary style thing, but it's still just talking to someone about their exit and then what their life is like after. And there's a lot of shows that do something similar to that. And it was awesome to like raise money to do that. But in the end, we're like, well, let's make a movie, because that's like even bigger and it could be more powerful for people. And even when we did the interview, I don't even think I was like super solid that was exactly what we were going to do, was like turn that thing into a proper full documentary. It was still sort of like foggy in my mind. But I appreciate you like giving positive feedback, because I made a promise to like 1,000 or 1,100 plus people in the crowdfund. Like, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
as soon as I can, and it's I'm happy to have something, and I'm happy that people are like, oh, it's actually like, that's a really unique take, or like a really interesting, or like it was emotionally, like it hit me.
Yeah.
It's a big risk, right? Like everyone in a Kickstarter type thing to like say like, all right, I'll put some money into this thing and I hope they actually finish it. And I hope it's actually good and not just some B movie. I don't know. It's interesting. I appreciate your support and interest after all this time too.
No, you got it, man. It's definitely a project worth supporting any way that I can.
In everything you've seen in that space, in the ex-witness space, or like the post-faith world, like what do you think is needed or is valuable or works well? Do you have any interest there?
As far as XJW Entertainment,
Yeah.
To be honest with you, these days I have no idea. I think during the pandemic, I spent very little time at all with anything having to do with the XJWs. I don't know, man. I don't know what the thing that works today. I don't know what it takes to get people's attention anymore. I know that it's harder than ever.
Yeah.
So
maybe you could talk about what got you to where you're at, because I feel like you seem like you're in a pretty like mellowed out Zen Anthos.
Yeah.
And you have any advice for anyone who might be watching this kind of content on my channel, on the Witness Underground podcast channel?
To get to that place?
Yeah, how to get to Anthos Zen.
Oh, if you keep living your life the way that you want to live it, you're going to just get there. As long as you don't look back and go to a memorial or anything like that, you'll be all right.
If you go, do it for some nefarious reason, like getting undercover footage.
Right. Not because you promised your grandmother or something.
Yeah. Actually, I did it when I was living in Vietnam. I went to the memorial. I took my girlfriend at the time, who has no connection to, like, doesn't even know what Christianity means. She's like deep Buddhist from Myanmar. She still exists, but we weren't dating anymore. But it was like so weird for me to go, because I hadn't been in like 8 years, or not, maybe 10 years, something like that. And it was like all the characters you could imagine were there. They had like a little potluck. Everyone brought treats for after, but it was like another version, because it's like half Korean and Japanese people. And there's like one person from the state, no, 2 guys from the States that were in charge, of course. Got to have like proper reps from America to make it work. And then they're
ruling over the natives over there.
Yeah, exactly. And then their Latin American wives, who were all lovely, but they were like interrogating, like, what's your deal? Like, why do you have a camera here? That's very abnormal. And then like, you don't have your own Bible. Like, are you actually one of us, or like, are you a new person? Should we start a Bible study? And then they got my girlfriend at the time. They got her number. She's like, yeah, there's a really nice lady. She wanted to talk to me about her religion, and I thought that sounded really sweet. And I was like, no, don't ever talk to her.
No,
we're here undercover. You're not supposed to be conned.
How often did she hear from her?
Oh, just a couple times, she told me, and she never did the coffee break or whatever. But it was interesting, and it kind of made me like a bit nostalgic, because they're like, oh, we lived in Ecuador and you lived in Ecuador. Like, do we know any of the same people? And I'm like, absolutely we do. And I'm not telling you any of their names. I didn't say anything. It was pretty funny.
Trip.
Yeah.
So what was it like? Any feelings that it brought back? Did it make you literally sick to your stomach?
According to for abdominal pain.
No, I think it was just sort of like I could kick it with those people, because like I know it was like almost like walking into like a really comfortable setting where I could like easily hang out with everybody. And we ended up staying and having snacks, but it felt weird because people were like filming us, because like I think they were questioning or skeptical. So we're like, They were just like going up and like doing this.
What?
And then cell phones weren't a part of my life with cameras when I was in that religion. So like,
Yeah,
that's a weird, almost like surveillance culture thing that happened a few times that really
It
freaked me
came
out.
right up to you.
Yeah, like I was talking to someone else, and it's like someone's like scanning, like, and maybe sending the video. I don't know what they're doing with that video, but sending it to somebody. Like, do you know this person? That was creepy. The other thing was creepy was like everyone was like singing the church songs with their phone and like reading the Bible on their phone because they didn't have books
they don't
anymore.
have to use physical literature.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which that one blows my mind because it just makes it easier to do the Orwellian thing of like editing the literature. It's like, well, what does it say in this old edition of this magazine? And then like they just re-update it whenever they feel like it to say something that corroborates what they're saying now, which is why like all the old school activists from last century like had the physical literature and they're like, this is what it said here in paragraph 18 and this is what they're saying now, which I don't have any interest in reading walls of text anymore. Like I did that for 20 plus years. They're hypocrites, whatever. I don't care. But
yeah.
Anyway, the life goes on and look, I think you said something perfect. Like if you want to get to Zen Anthos, don't look back and go to the memorial. And the idea of like looking back, just like being present and looking forward in your life is the thing that solves it.
Yeah. Continue to move forward. Start celebrating your birthday if you didn't used to do that. Celebrate Christmas. All that normal shit that you should have been doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are for you anything that you're looking forward to in the next months or years?
No.
Just you got present going on in the present moment.
Yes. Yeah, literally. I probably haven't spoken with you about this, but I got clean and sober, not clean and sober, but I smoke pot.
Yeah.
But I quit.
California sober.
I quit drinking and hard drugs. Coming up on 6 years in a few months.
Nice.
In a few months, yeah.
Would you recommend that?
What? Getting sober?
Yeah.
Depends on how old you are and how hard you party. If you can do it in moderation, I wouldn't recommend you party.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah, it's an interesting topic. I feel like, I think you're totally on it. It depends on your personality and can you or are you like balanced? And if you're not, you might want to cut it cold turkey.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're not like me, who was drinking several times during the week and getting drunk. And then getting drunk would make me want to go get some Coke, and I was just doing it too much. And I knew I couldn't keep going on like that without paying the costs somehow. I knew it was right around the corner, that something was right around the corner if I kept going. And ran to rehab.
Right on. How long is that process?
The rehab?
Yeah.
I did the whole 90 days.
Like in a center?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. By MacArthur Park downtown.
Does that allow for work, or are you just like doing their program in the facility?
No, I don't. No, I was in between jobs at that time, so it was perfect for me. I was collecting unemployment at the time, so
it's so interesting. I started. Have you ever? I just started therapy last year in the spring, and it has been really valuable. Like I've learned a lot of techniques and things that have been very useful to me. But there's something I've been wondering about, and there's always stigma about someone who uses therapy, and now there's the stigma, and there's still a stigma, I think, in greater society. Like that's lessening, but there's still a stigma about like being institutionalized or like going to a center. Like you must have like hit a wall, people think. But after using therapy, and it's like, okay, I had a 1 hour session or a 40-minute session or whatever. And now I'm just like in this crazy headspace I haven't thought about for a long time, a compartmentalized past thing I want to work out because that thing is affecting my life in the present day. And they open this, like we open this thing together in the session, and then I'm just like, this is a lot to handle. And then I have a work meeting, 5 minutes after the end of the session. And it's like, now I'm in this crazy vulnerable spot, and I have to like go talk to these people and be professional. And I don't get to talk to the therapist for a week. And I have to pay for the privilege of having that be the dynamic every week. And it's like, is there ever any solution that actually solves the problem? And I was like, it'd be awesome after doing this for a few months. I was like, I'm making progress, but I would like it to be really condensed and shortened into like one compartmentalized time. It'd be awesome to go to a place where I don't have 40 to 1 hour, 40 minute to 60 minute like end and start times. And I don't have to wait a week to talk to somebody about what just happened. It'd be awesome to go to like a retreat center and then just have people that's their job, is to like walk you through the thing and then process it and then finish the job. And then once you like, I'd like to go into the building or into the retreat and like leave cleansed. And I wonder if could you talk about that? Like how was the rehab in terms of that?
It was not like a retreat or anything like that. This was like the bare bones of rehabilitation. In the state of California, you can go to rehab twice a year on the state of California, which I found out just in time. And so, I just took advantage of that. And it's not, there's no palm trees and pools and, service or anything like that. It was a 4-story building of men who we all had chores to do. We're in meetings all day long, not all day long. Pretty much all day long. First thing in the morning was cleaning up the place, the building, and having breakfast, and then having like a little break, and then in group until late in the afternoon every day. And then you had to go to so many meetings a week, which were inside the building. People would come and speak. So it's just basically like flooding you with sobriety material and teaching you about addiction, which was great for me because I found out I knew nothing about addiction. And that education is invaluable to me.
Yeah. What were some of the things can you share something you've learned or that you valued from that experience?
Well, first thing I learned was there's no moderation for anybody who's an alcoholic, an addict. Like there's no rolling back to, okay, I'm going to just start doing this much. Like once you become full blown, you're full blown.
Yeah.
You can do it again for a little while and be like, oh, this works out great. Just do it a little bit here and there, and then it becomes a little more here and there until you're full blown all over again.
Maybe you could speak to this. I had an anxiety attack when I took this movie on the film festival run. I had to do a public speaking, and I don't know quite what it was. I think one of the things that hit me was I had edited the entire movie not sober. People say you should edit sober, but
why? Not necessarily, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it hit emotionally, like it worked for me. I felt like it was a lot of emotional effort to go through the trauma that's kind of highlighted in the movie, and it's a lot of people's trauma where I had to handle my own while like highlighting theirs, but it's like so similar and parallel, and it was a lot. There's a lot to it, and I spent like 3 months just like getting emotional to their music to find the right moment of song that like hit, and to like be in that space for like years of my life was like I'll like get out of work. Okay, go get emotional. Go get it back into the trauma. And I think I learned a lot about my own trauma during the making of Witness Underground. And anyway, when we finally took it on the film festival run, I had to do a lot of public speaking, and then I didn't ever think about. I was like, I'm going to be like, presenting the newest awesome hot gadget to people, and they're going to be like so excited about my amazing. I'm Steve Jobs presenting the coolest thing in the universe, and everyone's going to clap, and I'm going to feel like a god. But what really happened was like people were like, oh, so you had this background? What's your relationship with your mom? And it's like, oh my god, and then it's just like my whole inner world melted, and then I had anxiety.
Like during the Q&A?
Yeah, like the first couple of questions, and I was like, dude, I'm living my dream right now, and you're kind of shattering it right now because you want to make this into a Jerry Springer moment, and I'm not into.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so a couple of those hit, and I got anxiety about doing another one, and then I realized like, okay, now I'm in front of a public audience, talking about stuff that's related to the Jehovah's Witnesses. And the last time I did that, I was a Jehovah's Witness, and I was like, oh no, I'm just given a number 2 talk again. I hated that. That sucked. So there's like too many layers of personal stuff to enjoy that ride. And I got my first like real anxiety attack or panicky attack. And I went outside and I like bummed a cigarette. I smoked a little bit, like one a day kind of thing for a couple of years in my like 30 to 32 years old. And I quit. And then I, of course, like had a couple, and I started smoking again, and then I quit again. And it's like I had a couple of those like addiction cycles. Mm-hmm. And I'm proud of myself that I'm able to quit, but it's like when you're in it, it's like I can't quit, and it sucks. So like that was where I wanted to get to. Is at one of the film festivals, I just bummed those cigarettes. I bummed another cigarette, and then I got a vape because I was like, I don't want to start smoking legit cigarettes. I get hurt. I can feel my lungs immediately. It sucks. Then I got a vape. Yeah, and then I got a vape, and then I was like puffing on that thing all day because like everything gave me anxiety, but then the addiction was like get more, and then it was just like a year in, and anyway, so then I'm like, I'm gonna get off, and then I'm like, well, those taste way better than cigarettes, so then I go buy a real cigarette. Anyway, I just like had this on and off nicotine cycle where it felt something like because I was really in it. Like I was like, I can't get out of it. I felt trapped. And then it started feeling something similar to like abusive control structure of like other people trying to control me. I felt like nicotine was almost like representing like like mind control. And it was insane.
It is.
Like
it really is.
Yeah.
It totally takes over moments, right?
Yeah.
You could be busy doing something and it'll grab onto you like, you gotta have one. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't stop until you get one.
Yeah, and it's like a mind loop, a program, almost like a program runs. It's like, yeah, but it's not a big deal, or like it's just one, or get that taste. You deserve it. Have some relax a little bit. Like, what is that voice? And it's like the nicotine. It's like takes over a part of your brain and starts talking to you.
Yeah. Just don't buy your own packs.
Just bum them.
You're not that serious about it,
right? Yeah.
Going around bumming everywhere you go.
Yeah. It's like then it's just one pack,
right? Just for this weekend,
right? Yeah, just for the special occasion. There's always excuses to go do the thing that like. So many parts of you are like, do moderation, but it is pretty regular. So, yeah.
Sounds like an oxymoron. Moderation, regular moderation? No,
yeah.
I guess it's not.
I drink more than the average person, but I'm not binge drinking. And like I have had issues where that has been a problem in my past. But it's like how regular is that 1 to 2 glasses of wine per week? Or how many times a week is that 1 or 2 glasses of wine? It's been like all right, I need to tone it down. So it's not healthy. I don't sleep well if I drink, but I'm not getting crazy. So
1 or 2 glasses of wine is kind of nice.
Yeah. Sorry to bring it up.
That's all right. Yeah. Did you were you ever a partier too? taking any drugs?
Yeah, and recreational stuff. I mean, I feel like I went to Burning Man last year, and that was my first time. But that's like, it's not like, do you use drugs? It's like, how many different varieties do you use today? And it's an 8-day party, and like, who's supplying it? Well, everyone has something on them, so whatever you want, basically. But yeah, I mean, I try to, like, if I'm going to use anything, it's like only in certain circumstances and one variety. I tend to, like, if I'm going to use anything, it's a crazy topic, right? Because it's like, these are all illegal substances, but like, it's so part of our society.
Accepted in society, right?
Yeah. Like, you can't, like, music festivals only make sense if you're using acid or MDMA. That's like not me saying that. It's like, that's the general consensus. Which I don't think that was true of like the rock and roll era. Yeah, they were known for, drug, sex, or was it like cocaine, basically. Sex and rock and roll was like, it's like the thing. But and then of course, like in the 1960s, it was like acid probably was the main one. But I feel like if you're going to a music festival and you don't have a dancing drug, like, people look at you like you're insane. Like, why? What? Do you know what this thing is? Like, that's why we're here, which is interesting. Because that's not I mean, it's like such a taboo to talk about drugs and drug use, but all of our childhood, it's like, that's not okay. And then everyone, when you're an adult, is like, what do you mean you're not?
Right. I know. Isn't that funny?
Yeah. Like, then you wonder, like, well, all the adults who are saying don't do it, are they all doing it and they're total hypocrites? Right. They just don't want teenagers to do it.
Or they all did it when they were teenagers.
Yeah.
So they're hypocrite that way.
But yeah, I try to, like, I'm more of like I'd rather get psychoactive stuff, like psychedelic psilocybin from mushrooms is like my thing. And I also recently found out my ancestry is like 100% Viking. So like, it's like, that's their thing, is like using mushrooms for thousands of years. So maybe that works for me. I've talked to a psychic, and he's like, yeah, don't use marijuana ever. Like, your ancestry has 0 marijuana. I can see your past. He's like, you're more of a this, and he like named it. I was like, I absolutely love mushrooms. Yeah, that is the thing I do. But I don't like to do it for parties. It's like go into nature with like a couple friends and enjoy nature and like become one with Gaia for a few hours.
I've never done it that way before.
Oh yeah.
In a taking in nature, or like having it be real quiet. I wish I have. Next time I will. It's definitely not going to be any music on, but I would always like turn the music really loud and put on the cool lights and all that other dumb shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fun. Yeah, it was fun. Great. Yeah. But I wanted to, do the little spiritual trip.
Mm-hmm.
Spiritual.
Yeah, I feel like okay, that's another interesting thing. So I just spent the summer in Mexico in Playa del Carmen, and there's Tulum is right there. They call it the Tuluminati, and then there's like Playa. I can't remember. There's another funny term for. There's basically like spiritual, quote unquote, communities there, where they essentially sell you exactly what I just described. Like, you don't have your own friends and drugs. Well, you can pay us $200 and we'll supply friends and drugs. Then you take you out to nature, and they make it into like a spiritual shamanistic like thing, but it's like a bunch of Europeans and Americans and Canadians doing what feels like spirituality, I guess, in nature for profit. And it's like, there's not just like one person doing that. There's like 100 different 20 something, 30 somethings who are like selling spirituality and drug use in the jungle. And you can do it that way. And I'm sure there's something really valuable there, but I feel like curating your own experience with your own community in nature, whether that's the desert outside of San Diego or the beach at the Pacific where you're at, or somewhere in the tropics, it's all totally valid and interesting. Because it's about an internal journey ultimately, if you do the full nature thing. And there's no reason why not to combine it too. Like I feel like every personal, spiritual, I don't like that word, but like internal, like I feel like it's like for me, it's like an alignment of my emotional universe with my and my subconscious world with my conscious mind.
Mhm.
Like I'm a more rational, like logical person, but I sometimes deny the emotional side, or I don't listen to my subconscious voice or something. But like it feels like I feel very aligned when I'm in nature with using that thing. To the point that I feel like I'm like trading consciousness with other life forms. That might just be like fungus in underneath the bushes or whatever, like I don't know how profound and important those connections are, but it feels like you're connected to the thing. You're a part of the nature, which we are, but society says we're not, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's for me, an experience like that would be just like smoking pot. I would totally do that. The psilocybin spiritual trip, quote unquote spiritual.
Yeah, I
When
feel
I
like
say spiritual, I mean like nothing having to do with my physical body.
mhm.
Uh, oh, mental vibe. Um,
The opposite would be like
I'll talk
MDMA,
about it.
dancing, alcohol, like numbing the mind. But I don't know.
But having a
Or
great time.
yeah, but having a great time. Yeah. And I feel like you could have a similar experience. Like every culture has some kind of background in using some kind of substance, usually for like rite of passage or some spiritual experience or a moment, an important moment in your a certain age of life or something. Um, and if they don't, they have like exhaustion through dance or something. If you look back into if you like cultural anthropology, I know, which I find totally fascinating. Like most cultures have a psychoactive chemical or like dance, and they'll have a ceremony that's like 3 days of dancing until everyone's like loses their minds. Or the
Right.
whirling dervishes in the Middle East, like they spin until they're like so dizzy that they can see like the other dimension or something. And like, that's God. I saw a God. I felt it. Like I have to
Would
spin
you
for like 17 more hours, and then I'll see God again.
would you do a DMT trip?
Absolutely. Yeah. Which is DMT is in, what am I thinking? Ayahuasca. Yeah. So I'm way overdue for ayahuasca, and you can get it where you're at. There's people all over the South California who
Really?
offer ayahuasca experiences. Yeah. Um, and what's interesting about psilocybin, and I have tried DMT straight. I had like a vape pen of it. Super crazy. But the crazy thing about me is like for me was like it was instantly visual, because like DMT is the psychoactive chemical in ayahuasca, but the ayahuasca trip's like 6 to 8 hours. And usually you do so by drinking something. Basically, do you know how it works?
No.
Okay. DMT is you can smoke it.
Oh yeah. I do know how DMT works. I thought you were
Okay.
talking about ayahuasca.
In ayahuasca, you consume it, you eat the chemical in a plant. And then there's another plant that's called ayahuasca. It's a root. It's actually an inhibitor. Um, I can't remember the chemical name for it, but basically there's our body, our stomach produces a chemical that dissolves DMT, breaks it down on contact or really quickly. So if you ever consume it, it just doesn't do anything. But this root, which is crazy to think about, like some people thousands of years ago in the Amazon figured out that this plant plus this root allows you to experience the chemical orally rather than smoking it.
Yeah.
But yeah, then it elongates the experience, the visual experience, but it's insanely visual. The thing I didn't like about the vape pen is that like I also had like some nervous like ticks in my like arm and finger muscles that like happened during, and then it like happened again like hours later for like, I don't know, 20 hours. There was like, it wasn't continuous, it's just like once or twice. But I was like, ooh, there's like a residual physical effect that I don't like. So I didn't do it again.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't want to like damage some part of my body or brain or nervous system. I want to
I never
enhance
heard
it.
of it.
Yeah.
I never heard of that. Where'd that come from?
DMT, let's see. Dimethyltryptamine is
But I mean, in the
Yeah.
pen.
I think they're extracting it. I think they're assembling the chemical structure in a laboratory, but I don't know, and you never know with illicit chemicals like where it's being made.
Right, but where did the consumer get it from?
Like you need to know some artists that hang out in cool art spaces, and then you ask around, and someone's like, "Oh yeah, my friend makes their own DMT pens."
Ah,
Yeah. I don't think I have a contact at the moment, but if I do get one, I'll send you the link. Because I don't think it's addictive, so I'm trying to protect your
no,
information.
it's the experiences that I've heard about it were they've all been good. They've all been like, oh, now I get it, type of experiences.
Yeah. People.
Did you have any awakenings?
Oh, well, mine was like just instantly beautiful and curious. Like basically, I was in a room and I was like looking in one direction, and I couldn't change what I was seeing. It was like it was moving past, like I was being shown something. That's the weird thing about it, is like it feels like you're being shown something by someone, which is really bizarre. Like you don't have control.
Every time you've done it?
I just did it twice with the vape pen.
Twice. And both times though?
Yeah, it felt like there was like another individual who's trying to communicate something to you. That was very strange.
Before, but not necessarily the way that you describe it.
Yeah.
But yeah, another individual trying to like educate them on something or show them something.
Yeah. And with ayahuasca, the experiences I've heard have been like, oh, and then this being appeared to me that looked like a little scary, but was very friendly. And I knew there was nothing, like I shouldn't fear them. And they were trying to get me to come with them because they want to show me something. And then we floated through space or into the galaxy or outside of reality, or like if they did a really crazy amount or like a higher amount, like all of reality like dissolved, and they were just like a consciousness in space, and it felt like they were dead, and that was scary. And then and it felt like an eternity of time had passed, and then they were brought back to this moment, and they're like, yeah, so now I believe in the afterlife. Or who knows what their beliefs are, but like it's a profound experience for a lot of people, and that sounds great. That's what we're here for, right?
Yeah. Joe Rogan for years has been highly recommending that everybody tries it.
Yeah, blast off, he calls it.
Blast
I'm looking
off.
for blast off. He talked about buying like a gallon of the frog venom before that kind of got banned because the frogs are getting killed to produce this. But there's it's not DMT, it's like another form of it. I can't remember the chemical name, but it's another way to another form of DMT, another form of dimethyltryptamine that comes up, that's grown. It's like excreted from those Sonoran frogs or toads, but now they can make it in a lab, and that's way more like just, or I mean, they're gonna like sustain the lives of that species because people are going out and trying to hunt them. But he was talking about you could buy it by the gallon, like this excreted serum from frog, like
frogs are no longer existing anymore because of that.
Yeah, people are like taking them out of their habitat, and then they die in other habitats. Yeah. And so like they're not that, they only live in the Sonoran Desert in Arizona and in Mexico. So now there's frogs. How many frogs are there?
How many frogs had to die for that gallon that person was old?
Right. Yeah. So now they make it in a lab, and it's the similar experience. There's like a whole church. There's like a whole religion forming around this thing, and supporters. On this topic, it's a fascinating show. Is this guy? He goes to clandestine labs, which are like illegal laboratories. It's a great word for an illegal thing. Illegal laboratories for all kinds of drugs, meth, fentanyl, anything people are using, all the crazy stuff. And he talks a lot about this particular one, but anything psychoactive. It's an incredible show. I think it was on Hulu.
I think there's something on Netflix too.
fascinating. And what's crazy is like he's like, yeah, every 3 months or something, like someone's lab blows up and the guy they interviewed like burns alive. But he's like a huge supporter of people having rights to go do whatever they want with their body, which I think is interesting. It's almost, we're talking almost like a human rights thing. Like, why are these things illegal? And like the United States wants them to be illegal. For example, like all the drug trade and all the trafficking that's happening through drugs. Like Americans are the biggest consumer of those drugs, and people are like dying to get them to you. And the United States is like does all kinds of crazy stuff. Like the CIA has historically created these markets in different populations to then like use that money, illicit money, to fund illicit wars, where they hire mercenary groups using like untraceable drug money that they created. They've been doing that since the 80s with cocaine and crack, and causing complete chaos in the world. And if you just legalize these things, you'd have pure sources of them. People would be, if we really cared about the happiness and health of our society, we would only, like with marijuana, we would legalize it and we'd have like known sources with known used fertilizers and chemicals. And like there's only nefarious reasons to make things illegal. And they think that they tell us that they're protecting us. Meanwhile, to move that illicit stuff to the United States, you need to have an entire military that is also like
full on operation. Right.
It's crazy. And now you have like narcos running all, there used to be gangs in America who were running the drugs, which isn't a good problem. But now we have like Mexican narcos doing it, running fentanyl. People are dying because like cocaine's now laced with fentanyl. And it's like, is that somehow better than why don't you just open the doors to like have it made in labs so we know what we're getting?
Right.
Like people do it. They're going to do it. Like, why don't you just take the tax money? But then you have cops who are like, they won't actually solve the problem, because if their town can make a medium-sized bust and the drug guys keep going and they know the enemy, they can keep on doing a medium-sized bust every 6 months and like be relevant. Right. Meanwhile, there's like two militaries going on, the cops running their military side, and then the nefarious drug cartel military. And I was actually interviewing Matthew Smiley. Matthew Smiley. Sorry, Matthew. He's been a supporter of the show for a long time. He's a criminal lawyer in Arizona. He's been doing fentanyl crimes for years. Like everything that's happening in Phoenix is like fentanyl based, basically.
Yeah. I got out of the drug life right before it became a big problem. Fentanyl. So glad.
Yeah, it's crazy. One time went just like a friend of mine in LA. He's from Hong Kong and he lived in Japan for a while. He's making sashimi sushi. So him and I drove in the morning to the Japanese fish market in downtown.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hang on, something happened over here.
Can't hear me? Maybe your headphones went dead. Can you hear me now? Try just hitting the mute button or unplugging your headset, turning them off.
I don't know what happened.
Can you hear me
if
now?
I refresh, what happens if I refresh?
Go for it.
Should I do it?
Yeah. Anyway, well, I was just about to share the story. Is we were getting.
There we go.
Okay. Is that working?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That worked. Yeah, I was just saying, we were downtown LA and we were just like a little early for the fish market, so we like went to grab a coffee and it was like 3 blocks, and it was like homeless encampment after homeless encampment. It's like a lot of downtown LA is like this.
Do you remember what street you were on?
Oh no, we were in kind of south of downtown a ways. Not so far from the fashion district, probably.
Okay.
Anyway,
right
there was just like there was some probably not so far away from there. There's a couple like city workers like lifting, like made some people take their tents away, and it was like bio waste, like human waste, and like they're just like cleaning up the neighborhood from this, so just like trying to keep people healthy. in the neighborhood, and
it just fills right back up again.
Yeah, it's insane.
Right after they're gone.
But like they were moving their tents, and like stuff was falling out of their tents there, and there's like little 2-man tents, and like we were like, oh man, this is like a lot happening right now, just like on this little side street. And then like we were walking across, and stuff is rolling on the ground out of their tents, and like we were like stepping over full needles of fentanyl. We're like, we're just casually trying to get a coffee in the morning, and we're like stepping over needles that are not used yet. Like it's crazy. Anyway, there's a lot of countries and societies that are doing work in that space to make it better, but I don't know. Like California has a lot of social problems because it's really nice to live there. It's a great environment.
Yeah, it's very too little compassion here. It's another problem.
Yeah,
they just don't want to. They just don't want to have to see the homeless people, but they don't want to really do anything for them.
It's hard to help that community because like I've met a lot of homeless people, and they choose to live that way. A lot of them. I mean, maybe they didn't originally choose to live that way, but they've gotten used to it, and they'd rather have freedom and not be like in an institution where they have to listen to someone yelling at them, or with like 100 other people who are a little bit off. Yeah, like being the only person off in the side of the river is one thing, but being around 100 people, I can imagine is a lot.
People say that, but no homeless. I've never heard a homeless person tell me that they would rather choose to be homeless so they can be free.
Yeah, no,
never.
I heard that from.
I know they say Denver. That. But I don't know. I think maybe. Go ahead.
Maybe they're like small town homeless rather than like big city homeless. Because I know big city homeless.
No, they say that about here too. You were right. They say it about just homelessness in general, usually.
Yeah.
A lot of people on drugs they want to be free to do their drugs. Those drug addicts would much rather do drugs inside.
Yeah. Sometimes you just want like a flat, comfortable space to do drugs, right?
Yeah.
You don't necessarily want to be in a tent when it's raining in the side of the river under a bridge.
Right. Driving right by.
Well, I mean, that's kind of a heavy topic to leave on, but we're almost at an hour, and I'm trying to like do some lives for an hour long.
Nice.
Is there anything you wanted to wrap with?
No, man. This was a good time, and I'm very excited to see what's going to happen with you guys in the documentary. Wish you guys the best of luck.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm excited to see what we're going to do next. Like, obviously, I want to keep focused on the documentary. It's coming out, and it's like a really
you got all
deal.
that other footage, though. You got like a whole other documentary you can make.
Totally. We're going to release all of the full interviews from the film during the Kickstarter, like with the extras, and do a director's commentary. Ryan and I are going to do that, which just a matter of recording some audio, maybe some video. But and let's see. The next thing though, it's like, well, what are we doing after this? Because we're hoping that like the collaborations that are coming out of this. One of the guys watching right now, Trash Pandia on YouTube. He's Anthony Mathenia, and we are collaborating, doing a lot. We're talking a lot about what the next thing is, and for me, like we talked, like this film was conceived of and shot 5 years ago. So, and it's an old story, and it's like a story I'm really passionate about. But at the same time, emotionally and like creatively, I'm ready for the next thing. And I'm hoping that like the money that we generate from people watching the film in this coming year will seed the next project. So even though we're in a Kickstarter right now and want people to go and support the film right now, we will have this thing out in the public, and we're going to start the global release this year, and it'll start being available on different streaming services, and we can then just say like, go watch it. Yeah, it has ads, but it's free, so watch it.
People
it's exciting. People watch it. I'm excited. Watch it. So excited for people too. JWs, you said?
I said XJWs will watch it. With the commercials and I said maybe some JWs too.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when I was a witness, I watched movies about JWs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Not me. No pot state material for me back then.
Yeah.
No,
I don't know. Maybe I was wrong because like I feel like that was one of my big motivations to make movies. Like, well, even I watched stuff while I was in that faith, and like if it's a movie, but I wasn't like, going out for podcasts. I wasn't reading like literature. I wasn't going on blogs and reading information about the religion.
yeah.
I would at least watch a movie.
Like what?
So maybe I watched this like a Danish film, Worlds Apart, I think it was called, and it was on the scale of like apostasy in England right now. It's like that kind of level of narrative film. It's about someone getting disfellowshipped and then like how the relationships changed when that happened, and they just really wanted to like maintain their real romantic relationship with someone that they'd met and fell in love with. And it was like that was somehow evil, and you'd lose your parents over like having a girlfriend or a boyfriend.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's totally like they're not saying anything wrong here, and that's exactly how witnesses treat other people. What else did I watch? I watched one that was like a documentary about blood transfusions in a medical thing, and then another, I think it was 2 blood transfusion situations with following 2 different medical practices that was done. And I was like, oh, this is fascinating. People are actually talking about this weird world I'm in, and it's not just like the purple triangles videos on repeat or whatever else the organization, the propaganda they're making. But yeah, I want to make a movie because I was like, that has like a status. People will watch a whole movie when it comes out. Like somehow that's more important than a YouTube channel. And I also feel that way. Like it takes, and now I know why. And it's like, it takes years to like get it right. And a whole team of people, maybe like 40 people, I think in the credits who have like helped us out in some important creative way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So,
anyway, it's exciting. I appreciate you coming on and sticking with us and like being a fan and a supporter and sharing. And you're a cool guy, so appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Keep sending me stuff. I'll keep sharing them.
All right. Thanks a lot, Anthos. Really appreciate it.
All right, man.
Take care.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Everyone check out witnessunderground.com. See ya.